Welcome to the Rare History Channel. 14 Extremely Weird Sigmund Freud Facts. Sigmund Freud, a famous psychoanalyst, is considered to be wrong about everything he worked on. But even then, he can be found in our everyday life and paradoxes. Many terms like catharsis, death wishes, and defenses mechanisms come from his work. While you may know him as the founder of psychoanalysis, you may not know as much about his work with therapy dogs, his Hollywood courtship, or his love affair with cocaine. Fact number 1. He had a rare birth anomaly. The first of 8 children born to Jacob and Amalia Freud, newborn Sigmund arrived in 1856 with a curious aberration. A membrane known as a caul covered his head and face. Cauls are very unusual events, but harmlessly removed by attending physicians or midwives. Far from distressed, Amalia was overjoyed at the sight. She believed the folklore that says cauls herald the birth of a child destined for great accomplishments. Number 2. He examined frog brains. Freud's early education and work was focused on neurology. After studying the sexual organs of the eel via dissection, he moved to comparing the brains of vertebrates and invertebrates. For 6 years, Freud dissected the brains of frogs, crayfish, and lampreys, describing the medulla oblongata and other then oblique components of the brain and nervous system. He also made important contributions toward the discovery of the neuron. Number 3. Freud's death may have been physician-assisted suicide. By the summer of 1939, Freud was frail and suffering intense pain from terminal, inoperable mouth cancer. On September 21, 1939, Freud grasped the hand of his friend and doctor, Max Schur, and reminded him of his earlier pledge not to torment me unnecessarily. He added, "Now it is nothing but torture and makes no sense." After receiving the permission of Freud's daughter, Anna, Schur injected the first of 3 heavy morphine doses. Freud slipped into a coma and never awoke. Number 4. Freud believed that castration led to anti-Semitism. During Hitler's time, Freud had to leave his home country, Austria. This was due to extreme anti-Semitism in the area. He also researched the causes of fears and, more importantly, the fear of losing one's phallus or not being born with it, concurred that circumcision was caused due to anti-Semitism. Number 5. He worked on eel gonads for 4 weeks. During his time spent studying zoology, Freud dissected eels for a month, looking for their penis. He did this as past experiments by other scientists had failed to find them. He, too, could not find them, so now we know that eels only have phalli during their mating season. Number 6. His chain smoking led to more than 30 cancer surgeries. Freud became addicted to tobacco after lighting up his first cigarettes in his 20s. His daily constitutionals always included stopovers at a local tobacco store, and after graduating to cigars, he often smoked more than 20 of them a day. In spite of the warnings from doctors about his chain smoking, Freud believed the habit enhanced his productivity and creativity. After the discovery of a cancerous tumor inside Freud's mouth in 1923, doctors removed a large part of his jaw. Although he underwent 33 additional surgeries over the next 16 years and had a large prosthesis inserted to separate his sinus and jaw, Freud never quit smoking. Number 7. He had therapy dogs. Freud was using animal companions to soothe anxious patients long before it was common. He sometimes allowed his chow-chow, Jofi, to sit in with his patients during appointments and noticed that they became measurably more relaxed. When the idea of therapy dogs was explored further in the 1960s, researchers drew support from Freud's writing about Jofi to help establish credibility for the approach. Number 8. He had an affair with his wife's sister. Freud became a doctor so that he could support his wife and his big family. But he had an extramarital affair with his wife's sister, Minna. Minna had moved into their house after her fiancé had died. Jung, a friend/enemy of Freud, claimed that Minna had confessed to their affair. Some have even claimed that Minna had an abortion after Freud got her pregnant. Proof of their affair was found in 2006 in an old hotel registry where Freud and Minna had booked a room as a married couple. Number 9. Freud once thought cocaine was a miracle drug. In the 1880s, Freud grew interested in a little-known, legal drug being used by a German military doctor to rejuvenate exhausted troops, cocaine. Freud experimented with the drug and found his digestion and spirits improved after drinking water laced with dissolved cocaine. He distributed doses to his friends and future wife and touted the drug's therapeutic benefits in an 1884 paper on coca, which he called a song of praise to this magical substance. However, when Freud gave cocaine to close friend Ernst von Fleischl-Marxow to wean him from his morphine addiction and relieve chronic pain, his friend instead developed a cocaine addiction. With news of other addictions and overdose deaths spreading, Freud stopped advocating cocaine's medical benefits but continued to use the drug intermittently for migraines, nasal inflammation and depression until the mid-1890s. Number 10. He turned down $100,000 from a Hollywood mogul. By 1925, Freud's fame had spread so widely that movie producer Samuel Goldwyn offered the Viennese psychoanalyst, whom he called the greatest love specialist in the world, $100,000 to write or consult on a film script about the great love stories of history. In spite of the eye-popping offer, Freud turned it down as he did a $25,000 offer the year before from the publisher of the Chicago Tribune to psychoanalyze the famed criminals Leopold and Loeb as they awaited their sensational murder trial. Number 11. The Interpretation of Dreams was initially a commercial failure. The book Freud considered his most significant work produced little fanfare when it was published in 1899. Only 351 copies of The Interpretation of Dreams were sold in its first 6 years, and a second edition was not published until 1909. Number 12. His famous couch was a gift from a grateful patient. Freud employed hypnotism when he opened his medical practice in Vienna in 1886, and he found it easier to put patients into trances if they were lying down. When he began to employ his talking cure in his psychoanalysis, Freud also had his patients recline on a couch covered with a Persian throw rug given to him as a thank you gift from a patient named Madame Benvenisti while he took notes in a chair out of sight. Number 13. He was nominated for a Nobel Prize 13 times. Between 1915 and 1938, Freud was nominated for the Nobel Prize in Medicine 12 times and the Nobel in Literature once, yet was never awarded any of them. His critics charged that psychoanalysis was an unproven practice. Asked to endorse him for a prize, Albert Einstein begged off, citing uncertainty about Freud's conclusions. Freud did receive the Goethe Prize, given by the city of Frankfurt, Germany, in honor of the poet Goethe. In 1930, his daughter, Anna, traveled to Frankfurt, Germany to accept on his behalf, since Freud was ill with cancer. Number 14. The Nazis burned his books and drove him from Austria. Although an atheist himself, Freud was born into a Jewish family and became a particular target of the Nazis when they rose to power. His books were among those burned by the Nazis in 1933, which caused him to quip, "What progress we are making. In the Middle Ages, they would have burnt me, nowadays they are content with burning my books." After Germany annexed Austria, the Nazis raided his apartment, and the Gestapo detained and interrogated his daughter, Anna. With the assistance of his friend and patient, Princess Marie Bonaparte, a reluctant Freud fled to Paris and then London with his wife and Anna.